of about 200,000 tonne of rock and soil, balancing precariously above our heads. And I can see the fear creeping in already.
Sorry.
You don't have to panic just yet. We actually date this monument to 3200 BC, and we call this the Neolithic period, which means the New Stone Age. And at 5,200 years old, this monument is 500 years older than the Great Pyramids of Giza. And it's actually about 1,000 years older than Stonehenge in Newgrange. But obviously we don't brag about this. Keep this to ourselves. No, see, we're lucky. In the Boyne Valley we have 40 Neolithic monuments, and Ireland has the largest collection of Neolithic tombs in Western Europe, and a huge proportion of those are situated and designated in this one area. The three major sites are the most famous, which is Newgrange, Knowth and Douth, and then it leaves a further 37 smaller tombs, and they're scattered around the area. We aptly call them satellite tombs because they orbit the major monuments. So 40 tombs, quite a lot of work obviously went into the Boyne Valley, but we only believe there was a community of around 1,200 people, consisting of about 200 farms, which I think we'll agree is a very, very small community in that. And we believe it took these people up to 50 years to build this one structure. And this was at a time when the average life expectancy of a human being was at 25 years of age. You know, and that suggests that it took the Neolithic people, at the very least, 2 to 3 generations to fully complete these monuments. And it might also suggest, and do consider this, it might also suggest an educational system of some sort 5,000 years ago. And I know that might sound strange, but essentially this was knowledge and information that had to be passed down, you know, from generation to generation until it was complete. So it might not be too bizarre to consider an educational pillar within that society, because when we watch these monuments and we see these tombs, this is the religious pillar, you know, the spiritual center of that society, of that civilization. And it's absolutely amazing it's still standing even here in such good condition today. You can see so much work went into the construction here. There's many different types of stone, lots of material used in the monuments, and it has to be said that this stone is, oh my god, I'm going to kill them. Get away from me! There we go. Sorry, they attack me, you know. And, if you see a wasp come near me, do not be afraid to go through me to get to the wasp. Okay? Because I get stung like at least twice every year. I'll just lay a poor jam on the ground. So you see, you have many different types of stone here, right? And none of this material is local, right? It all had to be transported from vast distances to this area. And in particular with this facade that you see in front here, it's quite striking, quite quartz facade. Now there's two types of stone. The white stone within it is white quartz. The grey egg-shaped stone is granite. Now the white quartz, interestingly, is taken the furthest away from this area, right? It's taken 70 kilometres south of the Boyne Valley from the Dublin Wicklow Mountains. It's about 50 miles. Have you been towards Glendalough yet? You've been towards Glendalough. Gives you an idea of the distance that these people travelled, about 50 miles, 70 kilometres. And it also has to be said that Ireland 5,000 years ago had an entirely different landscape to what we have today. Ireland was covered in around 93% dense forest, so it would have proved even more difficult to transport all this stone via the land. And that's just the white quartz. Now the granite that you see, that's taken 40 kilometres. Right, but it's taken 40 kilometres away in the opposite direction. It's taken 40 kilometres north of the Boyne Valley. So the Neolithic people were sourcing material from two completely different directions for a facade that is somewhat superficial. Somewhat superficial. Somewhat superficial, right? This is just totally rude.
It's not going near anyone else.
It's superficial in the sense that it's nothing more than a dressing on the tomb. You know, that is not the stone that makes up the inside structure. It is just a dressing. Now, the fact that the Neolithic people felt it necessary to travel those distances with this particular type of stone, it might suggest that the white quartz had a mystical or magical quality to it. It's a common feature throughout these monuments. We find them outside Knowth, we find it outside Douth, evidence of it outside Lough Crew, and even some of the smaller satellite tombs you can see over beyond here. We've an excavated satellite tomb, and the white quartz is there. So it might have a mystical or magical quality. But it has to be said, the biggest achievements, the greatest achievement for the Neolithic people were the transportation of these stones here. Right? These are called grey wacky sandstone. It's a mix between slate and sand, and any given stone can weigh between 2 and 5 tons. Right? Now this is the problem the Neolithic people faced. How do you transport a 5-ton stone over a 30-kilometre distance. 30 kilometres. Now, on account of Ireland being covered in 93% dense forest, you can't bring these stones via the land. So we feel, and this is only a theory, we feel they used river systems to transport these stones. And this would have entailed the creation of huge rafts, very large rafts, that would have had, well, they would have had to be big enough that they held the correct buoyancy level. You know, that when you drop a 5-ton stone on them, they simply wouldn't flip. So it was quite precarious in that respect. They would have sailed them down the coastline, eventually upstream on the River Boyne, and then from down here they would have used a technique called log rolling, which I'm sure you're aware of. Yeah? Log rolling. You push and pull and drag these stones into place. Now, using these two techniques, we've actually estimated that it would have taken around 80 people a total of 4 days, 80 people, 4 days, to bring one stone 3 kilometres. 3 kilometres, just one stone. Now, around the tomb, you have 97 of those stones. Inside the monument, 450. But to build the 3 major sites of Newgrange, Nowth and Douth, it took well over 2,000 stones. 2,000 stones, just for the 3 sites.